Hey, what's up everybody, it's S. Dot. So I'm super excited for today's video because I have been searching for a BCM Lower for probably about a year. In fact, I searched almost every day from I think it was June to November of last year. And then finally in November, one was showing in stock on Brownells. And for some genius reason, I decided to sleep on it before placing the order. That's probably because we were heading into the holidays and more than likely I was just being cheap. But then when I went back to place the order the next day, it was sold out. Bruh. Now I checked every day after that and they really hadn't been in stock since then until a couple of weeks ago. So when I checked their website, I saw that they had this one in stock. I didn't even check the model number or anything. I just went ahead and placed the order. And if you're curious about what model number I actually got, this one is the RMS SOPMOD 0 SOPMOD in FDE. I just placed the order and then I kept refreshing my order status until it shipped. Because I honestly didn't think it was real. I thought they were gonna cancel my order and say that it was an error. So after a couple of days, I went ahead and picked this one up and I've basically been on cloud 9 ever since. So it's basically well not basically, it's a complete lower. So it comes with everything from obviously the trigger, the grip, the buffer system, as well as the stock. All I gotta do now is slap an upper on it and I'll be good to go. Then about a week later, out of habit or maybe just boredom, I checked the website again and I saw that they had a different version available. So this one was the SOPMOD 0, also in FDE. So I figured I waited over a year for this one, so why not go ahead and order a second one. So now this one is almost a carbon copy of the first one, but I'll talk about more of the differences in a little bit. But this one also is a complete lower with the trigger, the grip, the stock, buffer system. Pretty much again, all you got to do is slap an upper on them and they'll both be good to go. Then once I calmed down, I had to have a come to Jesus moment with myself. So
stop it, get some help.
I know everyone else on YouTube or on the internet has endless amounts of cash for stuff like this. Might have like 5 or 10, fully kitted out rifles. Because I don't have it like that, I had to make a tough decision to sell both my other Aero Precisions.
Move this man!
So I sold the AR-15 and the 9mm PCC that I built last year. Now, it is going to take me some time to kit both of these out. Some people build their rifles all at once. I'm going to have to probably do it in stages. Now, these will even be less of a build than my Aero Precision. Since both of these, again, are complete lowers, all you have to do is slap an upper on them, a complete upper, which I'm going to do, add in a BCG and a charging handle, and I'll be good to go. Now, I am glad that I at least built the lower last time because it kind of helped me understand, some of the internals. So if I ever want to change anything from the grip or the trigger, I feel confident that I can probably make that happen. Now, as far as how the actual builds went, honestly, it was pretty easy. I didn't have any real issues other than, I can't remember if it was the trigger pin or the hammer pin. I had an issue with one of those, but once I figured out a little hack, I ended up getting it done pretty easily. Now, shooting wise, honestly, the AR-15 was nice. I didn't shoot it a ton, so I don't have a ton of experience with that one. But the 9mm PCC, the direct blowback, I know a lot of people complain about the direct blowback system. I didn't find that it kicked that hard. I actually enjoyed shooting it. I know my kids enjoyed shooting it. So, would I recommend a direct blowback? Absolutely. The reasons why I actually sold them was one, to pay for these. So I basically traded both for the AR-15 and a 9mm PCC for both of these lowers as well as an upper. I mean, I had to kick in a couple bucks, but for the most part, it was almost an even exchange, give or take 100 or 200 bucks. The second reason why I sold them is that I wouldn't be able to outfit all of them. So I wouldn't have the PCC, I wouldn't have the AR-15 in these two. There was going to be no way that I was going to be able to outfit all of them with optics, suppressors, rail covers, flashlights, but basically all the goodies. There was just no way I was going to be able to outfit all of them. And the final reason, which is probably the most important, is that if I had a chance to go to the range with a naked AR or a kitted out, BCM, which one would I probably take? So in my mind, I'd probably have my Aero Precisions just sitting in the safe. And I've mentioned it before, but I'm just not a believer in having, a bunch of stuff, sitting. Now, if that's your style, I get it. But just for me, I don't want to have a ton of money just sitting in my safe that I'm not using. So where does that leave me now? Well, unfortunately, back to square one. I don't have any parts other than these lowers. Well, actually, I do take that back. I ordered their bolt carrier group a while back, so I do have that. And I guess while I have you, let me go ahead and do a quick unboxing. Now, I didn't have a color scheme planned, but I knew I wanted this color BCG. I don't think it's FDE. I think they call it bronze, but it's in that same family. So I know you're probably going to ask, why do I keep buying everything in FDE? Why not try maybe OD green or black or just, something different?
I don't remember asking you a goddamn thing.
But I promise this time it wasn't my choice. This was all they had in stock, so I had to go with the FDE. Now, I don't know maybe if it's, divine intervention of the firearms gods, but I guess FDE appears to be my style. Now, as I mentioned earlier, these are actually different models. So one of the main differences, or one of the first differences that I'll talk about between the two, is going to be the stock. So if you notice, this cheek weld is a lot thicker than this one. So this is just their regular, I think it's called Gunfighter Stock, and I think this one is the SOPMOD. Now online, it just said it was thicker, and I couldn't really tell or really get dimensions on how much thicker it actually was. But as you can see here, there's definitely a difference between how narrow this one is and then how this one flares out. So I think the stocks are pretty similar other than that. I'm sure there may be other differences. I didn't nerd out that much, but the main difference was going to be the thickness of the cheek weld. So if you like a thicker one, you're going to want to go with the SOPMOD 0, or if you like a thinner one, you're going to want to go with their regular Gunfighter Stock. Now the next difference between these two models is going to be the buffer system. Now this one is the regular or standard mil-spec buffer system, and then this one is BCM's RMS, which stands for Recoil Mitigation System. Now I could lie to you and regurgitate everything I read and act like I'm an expert, but if you're into all the specs and how this actual system works, I'd really recommend you watching a few videos from maybe someone who's probably better qualified to talk about this stuff. But I will give you a quick overview of what this buffer system actually is. So this one has a longer buffer tube. I think it's about 3/4 of an inch longer than this one, if my memory serves me correct. And because it's longer, it uses a rifle spring, and it uses a longer, slightly heavier weight. If I remember correctly, I think the weight on this buffer weight is 3.8 ounces, which is heavier than the standard one in here, which I think is 3 ounces, but don't quote me on that. Now, this system with the longer tube, spring, and different weight is supposed to, I guess, make or mitigate recoil. I'm not sure if that's just marketing or if it's real, but I guess we'll see. And the good thing is that I'll actually be able to test both of these with the same upper, so I'll be able to tell if there's really a difference. Now, as far as cost goes, I think the standard version is probably, I think it was $30 to $40 cheaper than the one with the recoil mitigation system, along with the SOPMOD stock. Now, everything else I believe is pretty much the same. So now, what are my actual plans for these? Well, I mentioned it earlier that it's not going to be a 1-month project. It's probably going to take me some time to put these together. So the first one that I'm going to work on, I believe, is going to be an 11.5-inch suppressed build. And it's not for like CQB or anything else that the cool dudes on YouTube talk about. I really just want a small package.
What?
To tow back and forth to the range, and because of that, I'm probably going to be leaning towards the basic buffer system, since this one already adds 3/4 of an inch, and my main purpose for this build is going to be as small a package as possible. The second one is probably going to be a 14.5-inch pin and weld, or maybe a 16-inch barrel, so that if I ever wanted to travel with it, I won't have to deal with any of the headaches that comes along with, an SBR or an AR pistol. Now, for the barrels, I think I'm going to go with either a lightweight or a standard one. I've read that the BFH ones, or whatever they call their cold hammer forge ones, will last longer. And I thought about going that route, but when I do the math, it just doesn't make sense, at least for me. So if an ELW barrel lasts, I don't know, 13,000 rounds, that means that I would probably have to spend about $6,000 to $7,000 on ammo. And when you factor in that I now have 2 rifles, I'd probably have to spend closer to $12,000 to $14,000 on ammo before the barrel would need to be replaced on both of them. Now, even if I shot one more than the other, I'd probably still have to spend, $8,000 to $10,000 on ammo. And I only go to the range, I don't know, maybe twice a month if I'm lucky, maybe 3 times if the spirit moves me. And if I'm being honest, I don't think that, matter of fact, I know that there's no way that I'm going to spend that kind of money on ammo. And I still like to shoot my Glock, so I imagine I'm probably still spend a ton of time on the pistol range. So now if I had to guess, I'd probably put, I don't know, 1,200 to maybe 1,500 rounds max on each of these. So I just don't see a scenario where I would really, shoot one of the basic barrels out in less than 10 years. And knowing me, by that time, I'd probably be on to the next best thing anyway. Now, if I owned a range or if I had some land to shoot, then, maybe that might be a different story, but for now, I don't see the value in spending the extra money on a souped up barrel. Now, an argument could be made about, accuracy on an ELW barrel when suppressed, but, I'm so far away from that problem that, I'm not necessarily worried about it at this time. Speaking of that, I do plan to suppress both of them, but I'm going to do it with a single can that I'll probably alternate between the two, because there's just no way that I'm going to have that much money tied up in a suppressor. As far as suppressors actually go, I've narrowed it down to the Surefire RC2. I know it's not the quietest or the lightest or the cheapest, but for my first can, I want a tank. Now, if you watch any of my other videos, you know that I like Glocks, and I basically equate the RC2 is basically like the Glock of suppressors. Now, as far as muzzle devices go, I'm going back and forth between a brake and a bird cage. I've heard stuff about the brake being a sacrificial baffle, but if I'm not going to shoot out a barrel, there's probably no way that I'm going to end up shooting out the RC2. So I'm still working that out in my head, but honestly, it really doesn't matter today because I don't have the money 24 suppressor right now anyway. Now maybe this summer, if things go my way, I might be able to get one. And since I got such a great offer on my PCC and my AR-15, I can go ahead and place an order for the upper, which hopefully I'll be able to show you in the next video. And the second upper is unfortunately gonna have to wait until maybe later this year, because I really wanna finish, one full build first and then I'll work on that one. And I don't see myself having that kind of extra money to get another upper at this time. So it's gonna have to wait, but it'll get done. I'm in no rush. Again, I waited for these BCM lowers for a year. Waiting another 6 months for an upper is not gonna be a deal breaker. So that's all I had for you today. But before I check out, I'll give you another quick look at the BCM lowers. And again, this one is the standard version. And then this one is the SOPMOD with the bigger stock, as well as the recoil mitigation system. So either way, I'm super excited about this build, and I'll see you guys in the next video.